Don't you? Right. I think we're live. Maybe.
Yay.
Yay. Yes, we are. Okay. Cool. Well, hello, Anna.
Hello, Erin.
I'm so excited to be here. It was definitely an interesting readathon.
Yes.
Just a lot going on, but I think it was really awesome. I like the changes that we made. It was easier. I think other people also appreciated the changes too.
Me too. I think that readathons kind of had a really intense period where everything was like full bingo boards, all reading sprints all the time, read as much as you possibly can. And then people just kind of collectively got a little exhausted by that. I know I did. But like on the running things end, that also made like running the social media much better. Which reminds me, I need to actually finish reviewing all of the books that I read on Instagram because I was making posts for each of them. But
nice.
Yeah, I had a couple more that I had finished that I didn't wind up reviewing just yet, but I will.
Hello, KG.
Hi.
Okay. So I think for today, you can probably just do this for an hour.
Okay.
And then log off. But I figured we'd start with, how did your readathon go?
Let me pull up my Goodreads real quick because I'm like, it went really well, like quality wise, in terms of all of the books that I read. I didn't have any that were like misses, and I think I read 5. Let me count this for sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I read 6. Okay, I read 6 books for the readathon, and it was like a good mixture of obviously like Judy Heuman's books of memoir, but I also read a couple middle grades. I read one more like scholarly nonfiction type book, and then one that was like a, I guess, like general nonfiction kind of book.
Right.
Yeah. Oh. So it was a pretty good spread.
Yeah. I have my Goodreads up. I read 1, 2, 3. I read 4 books.
Nice.
Which is good for me, because last month I was very busy with other stuff. So I'm so happy I got those books in. I did Pet by Hershey and Mezzi.
Yes.
It was amazing. I did a romance, Only When It's Us. It was very good. And I did our 2 group reads, which I also loved, obviously.
Yeah, me too. My copy of An Unkindness of Ghosts has like a million little plastic sticky tabs of things that I called out. Like I didn't even color code it. I just was like, anytime I notice something that I want to save. And then when I finished the book and looked at it, I was like, wow, there were a lot of moments there that left an impact on me when I read it.
Yeah, I read that book on like the physical book.
Me too.
Not the best for me because I can't really take notes because of accessibility.
Right.
So I did I read a lot of summaries just so I could have some kind of notes. Usually I read on the Kindle if I'm gonna do that, but I figured I have it in physical form, so I'm not gonna buy it again.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the cost of disability, I think, is having to get the same thing twice.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think, and this is just a thing that I'm just now realizing, I think that this readathon was the one readathon where I had read mostly library books, actually. I think 2/3 of my books were library books, because in the past I've read a lot of books that I either already had or people had given to me. So it was a lot of like physical books that I owned. But this year it was mostly library books. And then I did a lot of podcasts too. Not audiobooks so much because for whatever reason, like getting through a whole audiobook has just been like hard for me to do recently. But podcasts are shorter. So I've been like, okay, I can stick with this more. So I listened to a fair amount of the like the Accessible Stall podcast. The Human Perspective, which was Judy Human's podcast.
Yes.
There's another one that I can't remember, but it'll probably come to me.
I forgot to tell you this. And I don't know if you saw it, but I started a podcast.
I didn't know that. Wait, really?
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
What is it called?
Everything you know about disability is wrong.
I'm going to add that to my...
Let me find the link. Yeah, we interviewed Emily Ladeau.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's really fun.
Oh, nice. This is so cool. No, I didn't know about this. How long has it been going on?
We just released it.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I won't be super behind.
No. The
first awesome.
The 3 episodes are out. And then we're going to do like 1 a month after that. So, here, I'll put it in chat. Yeah,
please do. Once a month, I feel like is a good release schedule for a podcast.
It's really fun. I get to do it.
Cool.
A coworker / friend. So it's really fun.
Wow, I love this. All right, I'm definitely going to check this out.
Oh, thank you.
Something else that was like at least new in this regard of, consuming media this month that's by disabled people was getting to like watch everybody else's streams on Game for Access, because that's, I think, just started this year, right? Like, did the channel exist before this year or?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. But yeah, getting to like watch everybody's streams and like meet new people that way was definitely a fun addition to the rotation of stuff that we do.
Yeah, I love like the stream team. I love seeing everyone like gaming together.
Yeah. That's something you and I really need to do too. I'm getting us so off topic, but I've realized that like we met through gaming, but we've never played video games together. No, we did. We have a couple times.
We have.
A couple times. But I don't think we've ever streamed.
No.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. So. Thank you, KG. I appreciate it. Okay, let's go to the book. Being Human. What did you rate it and why?
I think I rated it. I always have a hard time rating memoirs because I don't want it to seem like, oh, I'm rating this person's life. But sometimes, I do rating based off of like writing style as well. I think I gave this one 5, which is what 5 out of 5, which is what I was expecting, to be honest. I was expecting that I was going to really like it going into it. I know she wrote this with a co-author, which I think showed a couple of times, because I was just like, this seems like more of a, like in memoirs where people will condense a long period of time into like a very short thing. And it really was like, oh, it seems like someone else came in and like summarized a lot. So that was noticeable, but I don't think that was necessarily like a drawback of the book.
Right. I gave it 4 stars.
And
I took off a star because of like that reason. I felt like certain things were just glossed over.
Yeah.
Wait, go back. I want to know more. And I feel like the first half of like growing up and doing the sit-in was the best part.
I agree. Yeah.
I'm going ahead of myself because that's the next. But, the last half was not as strong.
I agree.
is very like fast.
Yeah. That was where that summarizing kind of came in to me as well. Because you'd have, like maybe the first 20, almost 30 years of her life is half the book. And then the rest of her life, maybe each decade gets like a short chapter. And it's like, that's a lot of information and things that Judy Heumann did to pack into such a short space. So
for sure.
Yeah.
And she was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, I'm just really happy we got a chance to like meet her on Zoom and then just read this book.
Me too. Me too.
I want to read it. It's like, I think it's one of those like disability must reads.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay. So, what section was your favorite? I already said mine.
I liked the first half better than the second as well. The parts about like the sit-in and the occupation of the government buildings across the US, specifically with like her group in San Francisco, was something that I actually knew about when we watched the Crip Camp documentaries. So specifically the part that I really enjoyed in the first half of the book was actually her talking about like her childhood and her different experiences of what it was like going to school and like finding, specifically at the school that she went to that had the program for disabled students, where she was like, it was both definitely a positive to be surrounded by my peers who are also disabled, but also a negative in the sense that we were not given the same access to quality education as the rest of the students. Like when she then talked about not actually sitting for official school exams until high school, I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like that's something where it's like, cognitively, okay, things were different in the past, but like that was such a specific detail that stood out to me of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed that part too. I was like integrated my entire school time. But like I went to school before the ADA, so it was different, and I enjoyed is that the right word? Enjoyed seeing like the differences, like that change.
Yeah.
And I loved her parents, how they really advocated for her growing up. I thought that was really good to see. Yeah. So
yeah. That's definitely some of. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I loved with the sit-in, how like she talked about everyone was free to be themselves during the sit-in, and like building that community was really empowering. Which, like, yes, once you find a disability community, it is empowering. It is life-changing. Because if you're isolated from disability, from other disabled people, it's hard to find your place.
Yeah.
And understand your worth, I think.
Yeah.
What were you going to say before I...
I guess just that, like, when I was in school, like I had an IEP and stuff like that, but I was in the sort of like typical classrooms as well. But that, like, I know the concept of the IEP and everything is very much like a legacy of the ADA and like post ADA. And even then, like, I knew that was something that like my mom had to advocate for me a lot with the schools that I went to make sure that like that was followed, because that's a legal requirement. And then also that like I was being challenged in class. Right. So like in like an age appropriate way, but that I was actually getting access to like a properly academic instruction.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. I remember growing up having to take these tests every year that were very below my grade level, just to keep my IEP. I had to do this, like...
Oh, wow.
What shape is this? It's a triangle. Like, and I was like in 5th grade doing this.
Interesting. Okay.
Very strange. Yeah, KG enjoyed her memoir.
She did do a lot. Yeah.
And I always knew she was like a badass, but I didn't know like all of it.
Yeah.
It was very impressive.
Like the stuff about her work for the World Bank, like that surprised me. I didn't know about any of that. I didn't know about any of the like global economic development for disabled people. That was really interesting.
Right. And on that note, what surprised you?
I guess this wasn't necessarily like an aha surprise for me, but it was something that I think is what surprised me is how much of a through line this is across the different like memoirs of disabled people, especially like 40 who wrote them at 40 and older.
Right.
That they have written is the importance of like cross disability organizing and solidarity. So like the sit-in being like a really good example of how the different sort of groups where they were like, okay, this was like the group of deaf protesters and the group of people that were like polio survivors and the groups of like the parents of people with like intellectual disabilities, and talking about like how each group in that moment just sort of combined different aspects of knowledge and expertise to really like form a very unique way of approaching like solving this problem and solving this building occupation. Like the stories about how they were using like ASL to communicate in and out of the building after the phone lines are cut, or like the guy that lied about being a chaplain to like bring in food, and how the Black Panthers organized that. And just that through line that I've seen in memoirs by like disabled people who've written their memoirs like 40 and up. Not that it's there for younger people, but it's like, no, you provide like a perspective that I don't have because I'm, I did not live through this period in history. And also because you've been doing this for so much longer than I have.
Right. Totally. Yeah, I love the part with the ASL.
Yeah.
It's like really ingenious.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool. Hello, Mochi. Welcome. Yeah. Like even in like growing up, we had students that were not integrated.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is messed up.
Yeah, us too. I had a class that I would go to like one day a week that was separate from everything else, that I think was more just like, okay, you're doing like whatever everyone else is doing for 4 days out of the week. And then you go do whatever it is you need to do for the 5th day. I don't remember the details because this was like 1st grade, 2nd grade. And I was like, okay, I just go to like the different class on this day of the week or whatever. But yeah.
I've actually never read Lord of the Rings. I've seen the movies, but not the book. Okay. Now, how can we continue her legacy? And I think what we have to do, like, never take no as an answer.
Mm-hmm.
Never say, we can't do this. Because, like, her memoir showed the power of people coming together and saying no, enough. And that was really, really powerful, and something that I really took away from the book.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that for me, it's about making sure that we continue to insist on accessibility and hospitality, also for disabled people, as the default, because the more we insist upon that, the more likely it is to become more of a matter of course, right? Like, not that that's something that we should have to do, but because we do, it's important. And with going back to the thing with like the cross disability organization, it's also very important to me in terms of continuing the legacy is that we not just advocate for ourselves, but for each other, because you will get super burned out if you're constantly advocating for yourself and everybody else on the time, like all the time. So being able to have that community with other people that you can work together and kind of like take turns of who is taking a lot of the work on at times, and just being able to spread that out across a community is important.
Totally. Yeah.
Teamwork.
Like having each other's backs.
Absolutely.
Yes, get in good trouble. I love that. My favorite part, too, of the book is when Judy drives her chair into the glass door.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone else did it. I was like, man, I wish I was there. Okay, so that's great. Let's go on to the next book, which is An Unkindness of Ghosts. I gave this 4 stars. I did like it a lot. I felt it took me like 50 pages to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like parts of it were really hard to read, like on purpose. But
Yeah.
I thought it was excellent. And this is the second book I've read from them. I also read The Deep, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, I think I read The Deep first, and then that was what made me want to go back and read this. I gave it 5 stars. But I agree, there were some parts of this that were really difficult to read, both in terms of like the subject matter being challenging, and also because the main character is sort of figuring out things, like figuring out mysteries, and there's a lot of uncertainty about like why the world is the way that it is that the characters have. It's disorienting on purpose, but as a reader, sometimes that makes it challenging to read because you're trying to figure out what's going on with the same incomplete information as the characters. This was hard to rate. I hadn't really read anything like this before.
Me either.
Yeah.
It's definitely unique.
Yes.
Judy was a rebel, like big time. And she was very proud of it.
Yes.
It is scary in the sense that it's disturbing.
Yeah.
It's not literal ghosts.
Right. Yeah. It's not like, ooh, spooky, scary. Yeah. It's like, oh, people can do terrible things to each other. Scary.
What section was the most impactful? I'll say the ending, and then I'll go into detail.
Yeah. I think for me, it was a lot of the sections with, I believe it was Giselle going through all of the mother's journals and stuff within the ship and trying to like piece together a lot of the science of why it is the way it is in the hidden garden. Like following that was really impactful to me, and also the sort of dawning horror as you realize what she found out about the ship was just that's what really has stuck with me since finishing the book.
Right.
Yeah.
There is that mystery element. I should say first, there's gonna be spoilers.
Yeah.
But I think the mystery of her mother's journals was the most interesting part for me, because it's like something big happened, and we're basically on that journey with her. With what's the character's name? I have it written down.
Aster? Or yeah.
Yes, like going on that journey with them, and that discovery was, I think, awesome.
I agree.
Yeah, that's why I like mystery. Like the trying to figure it out as you're going along. And mystery was not the only part of this book, but it was a big part.
Yeah.
What do you think of the relationships in the book?
Oh man. So the Aster and Theo relationship is another thing that really like stuck with me from the book that I keep coming back to thinking about. And I keep saying I haven't really read anything like this book, and I still stand by that. But while I was reading this book, the thing that reminded me a lot of, and it's not a one-to-one correspondence, but it was the relationship of the main character and her brother in Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. And that's got a lot more of there's sort of like a time travel type story, and there's a lot of, realizing that while racism does silo people off according to like whatever divisions it is that the society is like being racist according to, there really is no getting around the interconnectedness of all of us to each other, as much as we might like create these barriers that are just like specifically for this book. It's like, you can go here on the ship, you can go here on the ship, but there really is no escaping the fact that you are all on it together and all impacting and affecting each other, whether you like it or not. It was just so complex. It was like you could see that there was this genuine care that they had for each other that was further complicated by the world in which they lived, and some of the things that, Theo would like take for granted about his life and stuff. It was so complex. And I think that was one of the strengths of Rivers Solomon's writing.
Yeah.
Was that
When you mentioned the space station that they're on, like that setting made the relationships like both like challenging because there's no escape, and like with Giselle, her trauma, like she can't escape it, like physically. And I think that really impacted her relationships, especially with Aster. And I should say, I love Giselle. I think she was my favorite character. And with Aster and Theo, I thought that relationship in the book, I was like, I hope it happens. But like, yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
Let me go to the ending. What did you think? It was a lot.
It was so intense.
I was like on the edge of my seat because a lot happens very fast. And spoilers, I did not like what happened to Giselle. Like in some ways, for the story, it had to happen, but I didn't want it to happen.
Yeah.
And I feel like the ending, like the end, left a lot of questions, which I don't know. Is this like a standalone?
I think so. Yeah. That's like my answer to the second half of this was, okay, I loved the ending as much as I was like, tearing my hair out reading the end of this because it was so stressful. I still loved it, even though, some of the characters absolutely did not get the justice that they deserved. Right. But but I don't know, like, I think for me, I don't want a sequel because I kind of like to imagine that, now the future is in their hands, the hands of those characters to be whatever it is they make of it. And I think for me, at least, it's more fun to imagine what that could be than it might be to read about what that could be. Like if Rivers Solomon ever decided to write like maybe a novella or something that's also set in this same universe, I would be interested to read that. I just feel like at this point, the characters are like, okay, go be free and live your life.
Yeah, that is really true. I would like a novella.
Yeah.
I just have questions.
Me too. Yeah.
I need answers too.
Yeah.
But I was also thinking like a prequel about her mom.
Yeah. A story about her mom would be really good.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall, the ending was a lot. But it was very good.
Yeah.
And I was so happy about like the uprising at the end with the lieutenant getting. How did he die? He got stabbed.
Yeah. That was satisfying, not gonna lie. That was very satisfying. Yeah.
For sure. Alright, well those were my questions. Do you have any other comments or like final thoughts about
Yeah, for the group books, I really liked that we had a fiction and nonfiction. I think I'd like to keep that.
Yes, I love
going
that.
into next year, and also having it be 2 books is nice because I think that engendered some more discussion, at least among people online. Like when I would go log on to the Twitter or the Instagram and things, and I liked that we got that amount of discussion with people in comments and things. And another sort of final thought thing, because I talked to a lot more people that like I know offline about the readathon this year, and I was like telling more people that I know in my like IRL life about it that read it, and they really, I think, connected most with the website and the book recommendations on the website, which was really cool to get as feedback, because I was able to say, hey, if they were like, oh, I want to get involved, how do I do it? And being able to point to the 2 group books and then say, and we have all of these other books listed on the website. It's good to know that that's still like acting as a good repository for people reading. Yeah.
I definitely want to go into that recommendations list and organize it.
Yeah.
Just like a huge list.
For what is this, like the 4th year that we've done this? 4 years later, it's like, oh yeah, this needs a touch up. And I have a lot of stuff to add to it too. Because this readathon in particular, I think, I realized when I looked at my Goodreads, half of the books that I read for this readathon that were not the group books were middle grade. And that wasn't really a thing that I saw too much of, like middle grade books that were by disabled writers too, you know? It like even 4 years ago when we first started this, like maybe they were out there, but it just seems like now that, you know, there's a newer generation of people starting to write books about this, and maybe hopefully publishers realizing that there's also a market for it, made it easier for me to find those things. And they were easy to find at the library too, which was really good because buying books is expensive. I love doing it, but it's expensive.
I feel like too, when we first started this, like you said, from then to now, I'm finding it really easier to find books.
I wanted to ask you about that too, because I remember we struggled to find romance books that had disability, like good disability representation or by disabled writers in the past. What was the one that you read? What did you like about it? Or was there anything that you didn't?
No, I think let me look this up again.
Because I remember when we first started this, we went through a lot of romance lists and we were like, oh no, there's like a lot of just, you know, this person is like magically cured of their disability in romance by the power of love, or like they hated themselves because of their disability until someone fell in love with them. Only when it's us. Okay.
Oh, I just saw his comments. Wait. Not on this channel. Well, I do have a plan for a video about reading and gaming.
Ooh, that'll be fun.
Yes. So yeah, Only When It's Us by Chloe Leese. The author, I believe, is autistic, and all of her characters, at least one of the characters, has a disability in the series. And the one that I read, the character was deaf.
Okay.
And I gave it 4 stars. So I thought it was really good. The next book is about, all her books have to do with sports. So this one was soccer. The next one is hockey. And I love hockey. So I'm
I
excited.
know, yeah. I'm definitely getting into hockey because the Kraken are in the playoffs for the first time ever this year,
Yeah.
and so like this entire town is just going wild. But
Yeah,
no, I'm a huge women's soccer fan, and I just
Yeah.
looked this up on the library. So seeing that the woman character is a soccer player, I'm like, ooh, yeah, I'm excited to try that.
It is very spicy.
Hmm.
I like spicy, so.
That I don't mind.
Yeah. So yeah. There is a book by, it's called El Defo.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
Do you remember the name of the author? I can look it up.
I think it's CC Bell, maybe. CC,
Let me see.
maybe. I think that also got made into either a TV show or a movie, which I have not seen yet, but I believe the author worked on like writing the script for it. And this was like maybe a year or two ago. I just remember seeing it and then being like, you know, there's been a lot going on these past years. So I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And then it completely fell out of my head. But I will watch it and report back.
Oh. Yeah, it is CC Bell.
Yes.
It's really good.
Yeah, that one's really good.
Did they ever write anything else in the same?
I don't know.
Oh, she did, yes. Cool.
I'm trying to remember if the character from Dreadnought by April Daniels is disabled also. I know that that's like a trans superhero story, but.
And also, speaking of superheroes, disability, last year, the Disability Film Challenge was all about superheroes. So that's pretty cool.
Oh.
It can be very violent, but I feel like that's like part of it.
Yeah.
It's like boxing and soccer on ice. There is, and I'm not a Marvel person. Like, I don't hate it. I just don't know about it.
Yeah.
Do you know who it is?
There's a few. I know that Hawkeye is deaf. Obviously, like Daredevil is one of the go-to things that most people can point out in media. Trying to remember who else. Those are the two ones that I think most people have heard of that I can think of.
Mm-hmm. And like X-Men.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was a big disability. Yeah. Okay. Well, this was really awesome.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you doing this with me every year. It's a lot of fun. I think next year I'm going to we can start planning. Maybe some I just like the fiction and nonfiction.
Me too. Yeah.
Maybe we should add a graphic novel or something.
Ooh, that's a good idea. There's definitely a lot of good ones out there. I'm sure that as we have another year of books coming out and as we get the website organized, it'll be pretty easy to find one in each of those. I think that would be great, actually.
Sure. Yes, Professor Xavier. Wasn't he played by Patrick Stewart?
He was, yeah. That's why I always forget that they're Marvel because Sony owned the X-Men rights for so long.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, that's not part of the MCU, but it's like, yeah, they're part of Marvel Comics, but yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone watching. If you're going to tune in later, hello. Feel free to leave a comment about your reading and how you did. And we'll see you soon.
See you later.
Thanks, everyone.